A man's leg is being twisted by his owner. He doesn't cry out. "Keep twisting," he says, "and you'll break it." His owner keeps twisting. The bone snaps. "There," the man says, "didn't I tell you it would break?" That man was a slave named Epictetus. He owned nothing, not even the body being broken in front of him. And yet 2,000 years later, an emperor would call his ideas the reason he could rule without losing himself. This is how a slave became the philosopher Rome's rulers went to for the truth. Around 50 CE, in a small Phrygian city called Hierapolis, modern-day Pamukkale, Turkey, a woman gave birth to a son with no rights, no name recorded, no future that belonged to him. Under Roman law, he was property from the moment he was born. At some point in his childhood, he was taken to Rome and given the name Epictetus, which doesn't even mean anything personal. It just means acquired, a label for something bought. He was owned by a man named Epictetus, himself a former slave, who'd been freed and had risen to become one of Emperor Nero's most powerful secretaries. Epictetus was in the room when Nero died by suicide in 68 CE. He held the knife steady. That's the household a philosopher grew up in. Here's the part almost nobody expects. Epictetus let his slaves study philosophy. Not out of kindness necessarily. Having an educated, clever slave reflected well on a Roman household. But whatever the reason, Epictetus was allowed to attend the lectures of Musonius Rufus, the most respected Stoic teacher in Rome. And something clicked. While every part of his physical life was controlled by someone else, his body, his time, even whether he lived or died, Epictetus found the one territory nobody could touch: his own judgment, what he believed, how he chose to respond. Years later, he turned that discovery into the core of everything he taught. The same idea Video 2 on this channel broke down in detail. Some things are up to us, and some things aren't. He didn't come up with that as an abstract theory. He lived it as a slave, because it was the only freedom available to him. At some point after Nero's death, Epictetus freed him. We don't know exactly when or exactly why. The sources don't agree. But Epictetus walked out of slavery as a grown man and did something almost nobody in his position did. He became a teacher, not a wealthy one. Ancient accounts describe him living in a small room with a bed, a mat, and an oil lamp. And even that lamp got stolen once because apparently everyone assumes a philosopher's house is worth robbing. He reportedly just replaced it with a cheaper clay one and kept teaching. And people came. Not just anyone, sons of senators, future governors. The Roman elite crossed the city to sit and listen to a former slave explain what actually mattered. One early source claimed he was more talked about in his own lifetime than Plato had been in his. Then, around 89 CE, Emperor Domitian did something that had nothing to do with Epictetus personally and everything to do with fear. He expelled every philosopher from Rome. Philosophers made emperors nervous. They taught people to question what power actually deserves obedience. And Domitian didn't want a city full of people asking that question. So Epictetus, freed from slavery once, lost his home a second time. He crossed the Adriatic to Nicopolis, a Greek city on the coast, with nothing waiting for him there. He built a school anyway. Here's the detail that should sound impossible. Epictetus never wrote any of his own philosophy down, not one page. He taught the way his own teacher had taught him, out loud, in conversation, testing his students in real time instead of handing them a book to memorize. Everything we have from him exists because one student, a young Roman named Arrian, sat in the back of the room taking notes he was never asked to take. Arrian compiled them into two texts: the Discourses, the long-form lectures, and the Enchiridion, a short, practical handbook. And that accident of one student's note-taking is the only reason any of this survived to reach you today. A man who owned nothing, who wrote nothing, ended up shaping how people think for 2,000 years because someone in the room decided his words were worth keeping. Now here's where this connects to where this channel started. Decades after Epictetus died, a Roman teenager named Marcus Aurelius was being tutored by a philosopher called Musonius Rusticus. And at some point, Rusticus handed him a copy, Arrian's Notes on Epictetus. Marcus Aurelius didn't just read it, he credited it by name in his own private journal, the book historians now call Meditations, as one of the things that shaped how he thought. That teenager grew up to run the Roman Empire, and the philosophy steering him through it had been shaped, generations earlier, by a man who'd once had his leg broken by his own master and kept talking anyway. Video 1 on this channel covered what Marcus Aurelius actually believed. Video 2 covered the single rule, the dichotomy of control, that both men built their entire philosophy around. This is where that rule came from. Not a palace, not a university, a slave's room, and one student who wouldn't let it disappear. Epictetus died sometime around 135 CE, still in Nicopolis, still teaching, by most accounts never having married, never having owned much of anything ever again. By any measure Rome cared about, he'd failed. No property, no family line, no political power, not even his own name at birth. And yet the emperor's private journal, required reading in military academies and business schools 2,000 years later, exists because of him. That's the whole case this channel keeps making. The things you actually control were never the things Rome measured. If you haven't watched video 2 yet, that's the rule itself, broken down in full. Which part of Epictetus's life surprised you most? Tell us in the comments below.